quick.
Nice.
Good morning, everybody. This is Real Estate Talk TGIF. This is actually episode 203. That's right, 203 episodes. The significance of today, which is April 29, 2022, is that this is episode number 200 in a row. In a row, meaning weeks in a row. There was one Saturday because of food poisoning on a Friday, but here we are. We've got 200 weeks in a row, and we've got Eli Schmidt and Will Grimes, Mile High Property Brothers, and from where else? Denver, Colorado. Hey, guys, how are you?
That's right. We're
doing good, dude. I'm actually Instagramming you right now.
He is.
All right, awesome. I love that. So here we go, guys.
Real estate agent, are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder podcast.
Sometimes you have screw-ups when you're the production assistant, you're everything, and trying to do everything with the controls, and sometimes you hit shit you shouldn't hit. Anyway, guys, it's an honor to have you guys. I mean, I've been watching you guys for a while. Our meeting the other day was off the hook. Just loved it. I had actually people closing doors where I was working out of because I was too loud. So let's get loud, guys. You guys have been in real estate. You guys have been crushing it with a lot of different things. If you read the promo I did, and if the audience reads the promo, holy shit, you know, there's a lot of great stuff about you guys. And like I said, I've been a fan for a while. I'm glad we are able to connect. Tell me, guys, tell me about what got you to where you are today. I mean, you both started elsewhere, and now you're like crushing it in real estate. Talk to me about that.
Well, it's like you talking about like all the production you got to do and messing it up. I was trying to like run my OnlyFans while you were doing the intro, and like I can't figure it out. So we're definitely not making any money on OnlyFans. So good thing,
not yet.
Good thing that we are in real estate. But the biggest thing is, that got us to where we were at is first and foremost, number one, we were definitely expert practitioners, right? So coming from the military and the police background, before you brand yourself, before you put yourself out there, especially like in the special operations community, only now is it starting to get a little famous and, guys are writing books and putting themselves out there. But from that community, it wasn't about that. It was about, being a professional gunfighter, man, and being super, super proficient as a practitioner. So he shares similarities there. I share a ton of that. So first getting into real estate was like, just know what the hell you're doing and be the best at it and allow that to speak for you initially. Right. And then we'll get into how we branded ourselves, but something that we talk about a lot, but it's probably the most underheard side is as much as we brand ourselves now, and we've gotten super creative with YouTube and everything else, we're really stinking good, man, at the process and converting deals and managing client emotions and all of that good stuff.
So I want to get into the process and stuff, but I want people to understand for context where you guys came from, where you started, what your businesses were before this. So
this is easy. Eli had a warrant when I was a cop, and I had arrested him on a felony drug warrant. So we had to I had to cover that. He had a really cool job idea. I was a little bored in my police car, so we're going to figure it out. But prior to that, man, I come from a little bit of professional baseball turned into, I had a best friend pass away. One of my best friends passed away on his first deployment. So left baseball, and I joined the Marine Corps, was a part of the infantry community, and spent a little bit of time in the special operations department. And then I was the lead counter sniper instructor for division schools at a school called Urban Assault Leaders Corps. So phenomenal time from there, did some mercenary work. And then from there went into law enforcement for a duration of time. Just after that, I had a buddy that was starting a fitness company. I had been running and gunning for a long time. I wanted to just change up, do some different things. I loved fitness. I loved the thought of like maybe helping somebody run a company. So I was number 2 in that company. We franchised it. He franchised it. I came in just after, and we went from 2 to 14 stores in 2 years. From there, I kind of caught the bug of like, hey, I think I've got some entrepreneurial tendencies at minimum. And I did a lot of great things for that company, but hey, it wasn't mine. It was time to, to branch off and dive into real estate. And then from there, I was getting into that. We did a lot of events with our fitness company. We did a lot of video, a lot of content. And I knew like there wasn't that many people doing that within the real estate community. So I knew I wanted to take at least that type of energy into that community and create a story behind it. Eli was doing some of that stuff. And I saw him on social media. We had some mutual friends through fitness. So while I was doing that, I quickly got cranked up, did 4 or 5 or 6 deals in my first 6 weeks, got cranking, spoke to him. He was doing some similar things. And I joined his team actually, right? Like he was actually my boss for 5 minutes, right? Fucking asshole, by the way, too.
I know.
You know, like here we are.
I was. And me, man, I came from a past of, fitness, heavy in the fitness industry as a personal trainer for a real long time. Got into a few like competitive bodybuilding shows, quickly learned like, hey, cool, got a trophy, done with that. You know, like show my grandkids my pictures someday, but you know, all good there. And then ultimately, man, you know, as I was kind of climbing the ranks as a personal trainer, you know, I kept accomplishing all the goals that I had set out for myself. But then every time I got there, man, the financial upside just wasn't there. And I was very financially motivated. So realized that wasn't the industry for me. Started just, man, I think I quite literally Googled how to get rich, right? And started studying successful people. I saw that they all had this common thread of real estate, whether they own a software company or, you know, whatever. A lot of times, man, a lot of these people got their start from selling their first home or, you know, being gifted, down payment for a home, which created equity, which they sold to buy their company, like whatever that looked like. There's this common thread of real estate. So I got into wholesaling, then I got into house flipping, and then ultimately found out, man, way more than I love flipping the home was the end process, which of staging and selling the home, which really led me to get my real estate license. And then even then, man, from day one, I had intended of starting a team because I loved still from training. I loved the coaching and training aspect. And now I understood scale and I understood, hey, you can't keep trading a service or time for dollars. So I'm like, man, with a team, you can scale. So that's why pretty early on in my career, I started the team, met up with him, 2 weeks after doing that. And I think it was after literally the first phone call I heard him on in our office, he hung up the phone and I knew he was 5 minutes into real estate, but the way he was talking on the phone, I was like, dude, where'd you learn how to talk like that? And he's like, man, police work, sales.
From the gutter, bro.
Just super casual. Man, I think maybe a week after that, I was like, hey, dude, I know my team's super new, but let's run this thing together, man.
So, all right. So you guys got together. Loved working together. And this is not very easy to come upon. We got two guys meet each other, hit it off, and they start doing really well with everything. I mean, you actually do come from different backgrounds, both fitness, but still, Will, did your military background and police background help you in the sales part of it? Where did you, like you said, that's where kind of you learned some of it, but how?
Yeah, it's so different, man. Like humans are humans, right? So if you can influence people to be high level performers, man, it really just comes down to like whatever they choose to do, they're going to crush, right? So, between athletics and military and then real estate, like one would think it's not related at all, but it really is, man. Like just, leadership from that Marine Corps side, like being in from, 2004 to 2012, right? Like for anyone that's been alive for 5 minutes, they know how heavy like that time of war was and guys deploying. And one thing that they had, that we had was that we were training scared, right? As in deployment was inevitable, right? It wasn't if, it was when. And when you're training scared, you tend to be a lot more susceptible to training. You tend to be a lot more eager toward the influence that you're taking. You want to do the extra reps. You want to stay late. You want to get behind the rifle more. You want to take more rounds. You want to ask more questions. You want to, disassemble and assemble weapons. You want to go through different scenarios because, it's like, it's always that one that you're not prepared for, that you're scared of. And as you start doing that, you start realizing, man, there is 10 trillion scenarios you could come across, on deployment. And you've got to stop trying to game the game and just keep doing scenarios. It's all based off of being fundamentally sound, right? And if you're fundamentally sound, then it almost doesn't matter what scenario you come across, no matter how unexpected it is. If you can fall back on your fundamentals, you're going to be okay, right? And a big saying that we had in that community was high speed has been brilliant at the basics, right? And man, if you can conduct the basics at a super high level, beyond rapport, regardless of circumstance and pressure, you are freaking high speed, man. And it's the same thing it's the same thing here, man. Like within real estate, like if you're super versed in contracts, if you understand law, if you understand like, pattern recognition and what most listing agents want and what they don't want. And if you understand pattern recognition of what buyers typically get, tend to get concerned with, and then what tends to not be a concern, like you can create presentations that you can present to buyers and sellers prior to even engaging in a process that kind of like prep them for battle. Right. And then, well, hey, Will, what about the unexpected? You talked about unexpected. That sounds like you're talking about the expecteds, the patterns, the traditional. Correct. The unexpecteds are, hey, remember your role and responsibility and rely on fundamentals of knowing your craft, and then rely on your resources, your title, your managing broker, your team leader, guys that have been versed so you can like reach out and communicate and get that done. But you've also got to remember your role. And one of the number one things we see agents do is like, they tend to mirror their client's emotions, right? So when they're, they find the house that they love and, oh my God, this is the one that we want to send an offer on, that agent tends to get excited, right? And then, hey, we're submitting an offer. And then like, oh man, like they're countering us, or it's the last 2 hours before they pick an offer and everyone's submitting and it's getting super competitive and we're super nervous. The realtor tends to carry that same level of emotion, right? Or if an inspection comes through and it's man, you've got 27 things that got to be tackled. And it's not that they're all a big deal. It's that maybe you've got a first-time home buyer or a fickle home buyer, and you've just got to address some of these. And you tend to wear that stress and that anxiety. And like, the number one thing is like, hey, that is not your freaking time. This is not about you. You're an advisor, right? This is your profession. This is where you're supposed to shoulder. This is where you're supposed to mitigate and manage and create resolve, as well as preparing for process. And if you're preparing for process, man, then you've got to be even keeled. You can't be overly excited and you can't be overly upset or anxious or stressed. You've got to manage that. And a lot of times, man, like realtors, they're not in that mindset. And if you, to correlate this backtracking, like if Marines are getting into conflict on deployment, and you're a leader, man, that is not your time to freak out if people are freaking out. They're looking at you for resolve and safety and leadership and command presence and confidence that we're going to accomplish a mission. Not that we're going to get away, scot-free. Not that no one's going to get hurt. Not that no one's going to, something's going to happen to someone or even ourselves, but it's that we're going to get through it and we're going to accomplish a mission, right? And like, you're very resolution driven. And then even in training, right? Like, you come to your leadership with a problem, you better have a solution with it, right? So if you're complaining, if you see something in training that's not appropriate, if the only thing you have to say is pointing out a problem, you're not going to survive in a pool of sharks, man. Like that's life or death there, right? So like a lot of those leadership traits and habits and managing people's emotions, understanding a role of leadership, and it's my job to shoulder this, not mirror people's emotions, and then be very solution driven, not conflict driven. There is no difference, man. I mean, I know no one's dying, but your business can die. You could kill a deal. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's not as serious, but at the same time, there's some seriousness to it, man. People want to raise their family in a certain home, and you're letting your ego or your stress get involved with the other realtor on the other side of the table. And you think your fiduciary duty is to be an asshole to the other agents or to not create resolution. Hey man, you're actually getting in the way, right? So you've got to understand that in your leadership role and just how you navigate that. So long story long here, man, there's not a difference. And I'll leave you with this before we get to the next question. When I was first getting into real estate, I made real estate fit me. I did not fit real estate. I did not put the tie on. I did not get in line with the rest of realtors trying to go find deals. I figured out very quickly, here's my command presence. Here's my skill set. Here's what I'm great at. How does that apply to real estate? And then I made real estate fit me, man. And there's, my rebuttal to that is, man, there's a lot of moms in real estate that are organized,
right,
that endure,
right,
that are consistent,
yep,
that constantly put other people first. There are so many strengths that, moms, for example, have. Like, you don't have to be a Marine to figure this out. You just got to figure you out and where you're vetted. And then you've got to make sure that those qualities go into real estate and you're making real estate fit you, not the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing. I mean, that's amazing. That was great. I love the way you put it all together. And you talked a lot about right there. You talked a lot about the agent's mindset and how to handle a deal. What you talked about, one thing that You know what? I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about I've heard people talk about, what the agent's job is, right? But you just put it in a nutshell. You're there for, I'm going to take one word out of everything you said, and let me know if this can handle most of it. You're there for resolve, right? You're there for resolve. The fiduciary relationship is not to get, so excited that you're jumping up and down with them. Yes, be excited for them. Be that way. But don't go out of it like, you're feeling the emotions that they are. You're going to watch their emotions and help them logically make that decision to buy or sell that house, whatever it is. Right?
No matter what, man. And you know how many times we've bought a radon mitigation system for a client because the seller got too stiff? And if we tried to go any further, the seller was going to break and ruin a deal. And it's a $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 home, $2 million home. You think I'm going to let a $900 radon mitigation system get in the way of closing a deal? No, man. Like when people are selling a home and buying homes, like emotions are involved, egos are involved, pride's involved, and like clients are going to bend. They're going to forgive some things. They're going to fix some things. And some of them do a great job and they fix everything. And then some sellers or buyers get a little egotistical or prideful or emotional, and they're only going to bend so far. And then at the end of the day, it's like, hey, what if I replace that water heater? What if we buy that radon mitigation system? Like, we've got skin in the game, and like, you got to be super careful on what you're purchasing or how much you're doing it, because you don't want to come off like, you're trying to force someone to buy a home, right? So you're not fixing everything on it, but there's ways to have skin in the game and be committed. And at the end of the day, man, if you're doing that for your clients, you're creating a story, and this is how repeat business comes into play. It's just like, man, like doing the right thing is always the right thing. But if you're not vetted, if you're not a practitioner, if you don't have that right judgment on how to be committed, or if you're doing things for the wrong reasons, it's going to be very hard to have your own barometer of like what's right and wrong.
So let me ask you this. So you talked about a lot of things. One word you did not say that you basically inferred, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, you talked about the control of a deal, right? And one of the things I believe agents need to do better is to control deals rather than bitch and moan about, the seller wants this, the seller wants that. You talk about the radon mitigation system, right? That you would say, screw it, I'm putting it in. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to lose a deal over that, right? You actually, people would say, well, no, you spent all that money, so what? You controlled the deal. You controlled the narrative on what was going on. Are there any other ways that you can take with a buyer and a seller to actually control deals?
Yeah, we've got a lot of resources around us, man. Like over time of just building relationships, meeting people. We've got cleaners, we've got general contractors, we've got handyman, we've got plumbers. We've got so many people around us that not only can create resolve, they do it at such a phenomenal price that, like sometimes sellers, would love to fix something for a buyer, but financially they can't do it. We've got our handymen, our licensed guys, like our GCs. They got no problem getting paid at closing because of the relationship we've built with them, right? So not only is that seller getting a great price from our handyman trusts us enough that he'll take a check at closing. No problem. Let's get this done. And because a lot of times it's not so much like whether they don't want to or not. It's, does a seller have financial ability to pay for that prior to closing? Sometimes they don't. Or, hey, if it's just not going to be an option for the seller to do it and the buyer wants it done, can the buyer financially afford it? Sometimes not. But because we can come in at such a great price with our resources, we contribute half. They contribute, the buyers contribute half. We've got a great price from our general contractor that it gets the deal done, man. So like it's a team effort and relationships with every type of person that's involved in a real estate transaction. We were building that super early on. We were making it a win for everyone. And we've always, like the guys that did right by us, now that we're doing hundreds of deals, we still use them today, dude. Like they bet on us. We do right by them. Our word matters, relationship matters. And because of that infrastructure that we've built there's not much that we can't get done if it's just there's a gap between sellers and buyers and what has to get done, whether they want to or not. Maybe they can't afford it, whatever it is. It's literally almost impossible to not have something done. And if we can't get it done, it's because it's so severe. Maybe we shouldn't even be buying this home, right? We go fall out of contract. But if the home is still worth it and there's things that just got to get done, there's not much we can't get to, man.
Well, man, and this is one of the benefits to building our business the way that we've done it. It's fear, it's word of mouth, it's YouTube. Our YouTube channel brought in over $2 million in commissions last year, well over 100 deals just from YouTube channel alone. And here's the beautiful part. Because we're not paying Zillow, because we're not paying Realtor.com, those leads average $500 to $1,000 literally per lead, or maybe per contact, but $500 to $1,000. So when you're looking at our P&L, man, yeah, if you're dropping 60 grand a month on your Zillow leads, yeah, it's kind of hard to buy that $1,000 radon system, right? Because you're already in the hole sometimes, even just closing that deal or trying to break even. But because we don't do that, we don't have this massive overhead every single month, man, to me, that's paying to give our client a story to tell their friend. When they're working out at the gym with their buddy, I mean, no one, even if you do a phenomenal job, but there's no story to tell a client to a friend, even if you do a phenomenal job, they're not at the gym working out with their buddy like, oh man, my agent like did what I expected him to. No one's telling them that. They're there. They're saying, oh man, the deal almost fell apart. It came down to this radon thing. And man, our agents, they threw in $1,000. It was incredible. We didn't even have to ask them to. They're telling that story. And the reason most stories get told are the negative ones because, man, that's just, it's more fun to, there's a story there if it's negative, you know? So with, we want to give our clients that good, positive story to tell. So to me, man, it's almost like an exciting opportunity anytime we get to do something like that. And the possibility is there because we've built our business the way we have, and we're not reliant on this, you know, these leads.
Yeah, great point.
Right. So I mentioned the word control, and that's how we got into this conversation. I just want to ask you a different question when it comes to that. Is there any way you're setting expectations for your buyers or sellers to make sure that you are controlling the deal from the very start?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a buyer presentation. So, you know, like when people call, text message, or email, we take that initial call and it's, hey, great to hear from you. What's your story? It's listening to their story, their wants, their needs. And it's like, hey, great. Listen, are you familiar with the next steps? No, they're not. Great. Listen, next steps are let's hop on a Zoom call, or if they're local, let's meet in person. If they'd like to meet in person, more times than not, even when they're local, they just love Zoom calls. So we meet on Zoom calls and it's like, hey guys, during that Zoom call, let's take 45 minutes and let's walk you through start to finish exactly what a buying transaction looks like. Not only, you know, literally and legally and just system, but hey, let's manage emotionally what we're going to be going through as well. Like for example, when we talk about looking at homes in person, you know, like we're sitting them down talking about that before we're actually doing it, right? So when we're talking about looking at homes in person, I'm telling them, hey guys, here's what's going to happen when we're in person, right? Like I'm not going to show you the kitchen. I'm not going to show you the bedroom, okay? Like, you know what a house is. I want to be able to open that door. I want you to walk through and I want you to feel it like it's your home, right? So I'm going to give you some specs outside just to remind you which one we're looking at and what it's all about. But then I'm going to let you go experience it. And I remind them that, guys, we've got general contractors and licensed inspectors to come through the home and figure out what's wrong and not wrong with the home. We've got appraisers that are going to come through and appraise the home. If this is the home, we're going to be talking to the listing agent. We're going to be figuring out where that home is, how competitive it is, et cetera, et cetera. Guys, the one thing we don't have a teammate for is the teammate that's got to pick the home. That's where you as the customer need to focus on, not what's wrong with the home, not how much the home is worth, not what's going to be wrong with it down the road. We need you paying attention to the neighborhood. We need you paying attention to proximity to grocery stores and what you might need on a weekly basis. We need you paying attention to school district. And we need you paying attention to when I open that front door, I'm going to get super quiet. Eli's going to get super quiet. And let's take that moment to walk in and feel the flow of it and go through it. Because the one thing none of us can do is pick the home, right? So we're giving advice and roles before we're actually in the process, and everyone's emotional. So if you want to be able to establish yourself as a leader and as an advisor, you don't tell your client, hey, I'm the advisor. You give your client an advisory process called a buyer prezo, where you talk about logistics, emotions, process, negotiations, et cetera, prior to even going into that. So then once we're actually in the process, they can reflect on roles and responsibilities that were predetermined, pre-discussed. So when they are emotional and it is getting competitive, they remember that, hey, they're falling back on us. And then there's times we can say, hey, guys, remember, even though it's getting super competitive, these next 2 hours are going to be crazy while they're picking offers. Hey, they sent us a counter. They want a little bit more with a longer deadline or a post-occupancy. But remember, we said 2 weeks ago, just because we're going under contract does not mean we're married to the home. This means they want to work with us. And as long as the home is worth what they say it's worth within the appraisal gap that we've offered, if we've offered, and it's in the condition that they say it's in or within what we are acceptable with, then we've got a deal, right? But reminding them of those things that we've talked about prior is super important, because most clients, they're super excited to go under contract, but they're also freaked the fuck out because they think they're buying a home at that point, and they're not. But if they're thinking that, and if they're too emotional in that moment and they're on the fence, they're going to lean on the side of caution, right? So getting clients to understand that allows them to go all in on their deal. Getting them to go all in on their deal is what allows us to win so many offers, man. Yep. It's not just us. Yep. It's that our buyers' buyability gets so competitive, we win a lot of deals.
Can you break that down a little bit for me, where you're talking about they're going under contract, but they're not committed? Talk to me a little bit about that philosophy you just threw out.
It's very simple, man. During that buyer presentation, before we're even looking at homes, we're telling clients each phase, and when we get to that submitting an offer phase and going under contract phase, we literally tell them every opportunity they have to file a contract, right? We're not doing that because we don't want them to buy a home. We're doing that so they understand HOA docs, insurance, inspections, appraisals. Like they understand because during the process, if they know every opportunity to fall out of contract and they choose not to, they won't have buyer remorse at the end of it. If they knowing and willingly go through every single phase and everything is satisfactory and they're happy with each phase, knowing they could walk away at any time, and they choose not to walk away, they're happy clients 6 months, 8 months, 2 years after they buy a home.
Yep.
Okay, so everybody who is watching this up to this point or will watch this up to this point needs to go back and watch the last 10 minutes because that is just like gold, just amazing. Now, how about the seller? You talked about buyers. How about the seller?
Man, same exact process, man. Like it's telling them what they're going to feel, when they're going to feel it, and the common things that pop up. And then, hey, there could be these variables. But man, backtracking just a little bit as far as how easily we take that advisory role. Again, I want to resource back to, this is all by design, man. The way we get our business, social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, our people, from the content that we put out, from the videos that we put out, we're advising them already 3 months, 6 months before they even talk to us. So by the time we sit down at their kitchen table, if it's a seller, or on that Zoom call, if it's a buyer, man, they've been watching our content. They've been watching our social media. If a friend referred them, they're typically going to our social media or our YouTube and starting to watch us anyway. So we've been advising them unknowingly just from our content, bringing them value. So by the time they sit down, man, they're eager and ready to listen. The sell of Will and Eli is already done.
And the biggest thing, like with sellers, man, is like we work with so many buyers. You know, you kind of lose leverage as a seller. You have all the leverage until you decide to go into contract. Then you're going to start losing some leverage there, right? Like you count your money, you want it to close.
Great way to put it.
Finding your other home, like you can't afford not to sell this home to someone. But one of the number one things people appreciate from us when we're selling is because we deal with several hundred buyers a year. If they're asking for something on inspection, or if there's some form of negotiation, we know what's a good deal and not a good deal when something's being presented from a buyer. We know what's worth saying no to. We know what's worth going back on the market for. And we know what's worth of, hey guys, not only with these guys asking it, we see everyone ask for this. So even if we say no to these guys and we fall out of contract and we go back on the market, the likelihood of another buyer asking for the same thing, super likely. Let's continue to move forward. And like, that's how we advise. It's all of the contextual experience that we have, not theoretical experience of me trying to guess and say the right thing. And sometimes, man, it's not good to move forward, or it is good to say no. And something that we do when we're prepared to say no is when we go back to that buyer's agent that's asking for something silly. I ask that buyer's agent, whether it's, if it's something on an inspection that they just want to have or whatever it may be, it's, hey, listen, are your clients prepared to walk away from this deal over that one thing? Because my clients are. So do me a favor, give your clients a call, have a conversation. Let me know if they're willing to walk away from this home over that.
Yep.
It's never been yes, but I can't say that if we're bluffing.
Right. And you know what that, guys, you know what that's called, right? That's called
control. Our clients exactly where they need to be with Will. If they absolutely have to have that, I'm good with A, B, and C. But if it's got to be that, we've discussed it. We've taken your guys' advice. It's better to go back on the market. Hit them with it. Yeah. And then I ask them, is that one thing right there? Are they willing to walk away from this home in this market over that? And if she says, hey, Will, yes, I say, okay, now you and I got to figure this out because my clients are willing to walk away. If you're telling me so are your clients and you're not bluffing, you and I as an agent, you and I need to now work together. Let's go over cost. of what that looks like and what it's going to take. In between you and I and Eli, let's figure out how we can get involved to mitigate that cost or mitigate that time, because our clients are about to walk away. And I'll tell you what, you're a good buyer for our seller. You guys clearly want the house. We clearly want to sell this house to you. Can we all get involved in the middle and close the gap and bridge the gap on this? And I've never had a situation where we just can't close the gap. Usually that agent is happy to contribute. Once it gets to that point, it's like, but this is where, like, guys, we're fellow realtors. This whole, like, it's my fiduciary duty to represent my client. Yes, you're right. But this is not court where you're trying to throw the other realtor under the bus or be an asshole.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude, at that point, how can we as brokers put together a great game plan to work together as a team to not let our clients punish themselves, right? And typically it works, man. Very rarely, if ever, have we had something that we didn't want to contribute to because it was way too much to ask for. They didn't want to give it up, and then the deal blew up. Like, I can't remember one where, at worst case scenario, us as realtors didn't get involved and mitigate it.
This is great stuff. So we've gone over controlling the narrative, controlling everything we're talking about when it comes to the buyer and the seller, how to get that deal done, setting expectations. These are the number one things that everyone needs to worry about, needs to think about, needs to perform when you're working with their buyers and sellers and just getting to know them, right? So let me just ask you this. We've been working on over the past few weeks, the change in the market, what's going on. Before I want to get to your brand, but I want to talk about this quickly because we've been going into some great stuff. Have you handled what you've done differently because of the change in interest rates? Maybe inventory is increasing a bit. What have you changed, if anything?
Now, we haven't really changed much. I'll tell you, like, especially like with our YouTube, our buyability just increased a lot, right? So the first change that happened is, like, prices of homes just skyrocketed, right? We didn't try to make content for affordable homes, right? Like, not affordable housing, not Affordable Housing Act, none of that. No, I'm not talking legal. I'm talking just, hey, if something was $500-600 and then all of a sudden it's $800, we discussed the areas in Denver metro surrounding that were the best place to live regardless, right? And those started trickling up into 8s, 9s, 1.5, $2 million. We didn't change the narrative. We kept talking about where the places are at to be. And believe it or not, we actually increased our traction, and a lot of those serious buyers came out, and man, we get more million-plus buyers than we get lower buyers. Believe it or not, man, like, real talk, because we just stuck to, like, hey, man, regardless of price, who am I to say what's affordable for someone? Who am I to say what's inexpensive and expensive? It's all relative, right? So, and we have a lot of people in Denver that people are moving from the Bay Area, Southern California, Chicago, Florida, Philadelphia. Dude, we are not super expensive compared to the Bay Area. They're actually coming down here, and it's more affordable, and taxes are also more affordable. So it's a double win. So again, trying to, like, go talk about areas that stay in the 5s, thinking that that's more affordable. It's like, hey, man, you're seeing something through a lens. It's our job to present content and show Denver. And if Denver's more expensive, to who? Again, right? It's all subjective to the person that's absorbing content. So we got very not subjective to our content, and we kept the pace. We always show what it was. We got more increased buyers, and again, we get more million-plus buyers than anything else. That was the first piece. And then as far as interest rates and things like that, man, like, when you have strong buyers, man, like, they're still going to buy through the interest rate. And then just reminders, man, like, hey, I know 4s isn't fun, or 5 isn't fun, or high 3s isn't fun. It's also not a fucking anomaly. Like, 3s and 4s and maybe 5% on an interest rate is more normal than 1.5 and 2.5 you got during COVID. So, like, hey, those were great, and that's awesome. But 2 things. 1, it ain't normal. 2, the economy is like, we need interest within like loans, right? Like, free money is not good for the economy. Like, hey, let's not get used to 1% or 0% or whatever bullshit you're crying that's not here anymore. And maybe you should have bought during that window if you were prepared and pulled the trigger. You did. Okay. We're in high 3s, 4s, 5s. Hey, that's okay though. Like, it's not the end of the fucking world because you've got a 4.25.
And as far as sellers, man, one thing that I think is really helping us right now, because, you know, we've just been getting a whole slew of calls from sellers recently. Obviously, as we know, inventory is increasing. But here's one thing. Again, being such fans of the fundamentals ever since day one of real estate, and it's been extremely hot since each of our day ones. One thing we've always talked about, man, is, hey, regardless of how easy you may think it is to sell a house right now, the importance of pricing competitively, prepping the home appropriately, and then picking the right offer. We've always preached the importance of extremely good professional photos and video, extremely competitive pricing. And then, hey, on top of that, when people get to your home, guys, I don't care how hot the market is, we're not having chipped baseboards. We're not having scuffs on the wall. We're not having a dirty front door. Those little things matter a ton. So now sellers who have been listening to us on Facebook Lives and stuff for the past, 2-3 years, they now know, oh, these are the guys that have talked about this the whole time.
And on top of that, man, like, it's getting them to understand too, like when we say pick the right offer, it's not what's written on that paper. Okay. So quick example, it's, hey, if they're $100,000 over asking price and they're offering to cover the gap, are you having that conversation with the lender? Did the lender call you? Are they aware of the address and their client's name? Or did I have to call the lender? And if I call the lender, hey, Joe, the lender, this is Will Grimes at Mile High Property Brothers. I've got a client of yours that submitted an offer on our property. Are you aware of the address? Can you pull it up? Is it readily available? Like, I'll even give you your client's name. Hey, I'm working with Tiffany and Tim. They put an offer in on one of my listings. Are you familiar with the address that they offered on? And if you got to struggle to find it, if you're not prepared, then your realtor's not talking to you over that weekend or during the week. And they clearly didn't send you the offer that they sent the offer on. Like, that's number one, right? Secondly, it's, hey, they also offered $100,000 on appraisal gap. Are those funds readily available for the entire gap? Because a lot of people might have 20 readily available, but because they think it's going to appraise, they just write it on there. Or they have it, but is it wrapped up in a 401k?
Crypto?
Is it crypto?
Yeah.
Is it wrapped up in retirement? Like, how, like, okay, technically on paper, you can say you have it. How hard is it going to be for you to pull it? And how much are you going to get taxed on if you pull it? So if you end up having to come in with the entire gap, are you going to be super reluctant to actually pull that out and get taxed on it? Or are you betting that it's going to appraise and you can show a 401k that has it? So technically on paper, you're not dishonest, but you have no intention of using that money. You're betting on the appraisal. And if it doesn't come in where it needs to be, now you're getting taxed. And now you're falling out of contract and you're trying to pull some whole like lending condition bullshit to get your earnest money back. And we don't play that game. So it's like, hey, where, not only do you have the money, where is it coming from, man? Like, you got to paint this picture for me. Whatever is on that offer is mildly interesting compared to the story you're going to paint for me when I'm talking to lender and realtor and how we navigate this. So it's like, again, it's like being educated and professional as a realtor, knowing the right questions to ask to get to the bottom of it, to know how prepared are these guys to purchase this home, or is there a lot of smoke and mirrors that are technically not illegal? They have the money, but man, are they gonna take a hit pulling that out? They have to, and they're gambling on this. And as you know, appraisers aren't coming in as high as they were 6-7 months ago. So if you're offering $100,000 over asking, and him and I know where the comps are at, and we roughly know what it might be, and we know that they're pushing it, now I really want to know where your money's coming from. If I think we're going to be safe, I'm not as stringent, but I still want to know. But man, if you guys are way pushing it, and it's not likely it's going to get the full appraisal on that offering price, I super care about where your money's coming from, because 3.5 weeks into this, I'm not having that conversation about that your client's not okay with their loan term, right? Like, get out of my fucking face with that. But that's my fault, because I'm not setting it up on the front end.
Exactly.
If you have the leverage before I pick your offer, that's where it's got to get dialed in. Because once you're under contract, man, now you're susceptible to people playing games. So you've got to mitigate that up front.
Yeah, and everything you just said, we've talked about on Facebook Lives to consumers. We've talked about that on our Instagram to consumers, to other realtors. So what he literally just said, that whole spiel right there, man, we've done Facebook Lives about that multiple times over the past years that we've worked together.
Right. It's just amazing the way you've looked at it. And there's a lot of bits and pieces that most real estate agents miss. Now, you just talked about a really, really important part of the deal where agents will screw up. They'll fuck up on stuff by not making those calls, not asking those questions. It's
evidence, man. Like, I want the hard facts, right? Like when I was a cop and I got to go investigate something, right? Like, Dave, where were you at last night? I was at home. Okay, I guess you're not the killer. What the fuck? No, dude. Like, I'm going to be going through camera systems and alibis and who's got consistent stories. Like, I got to know the right questions to ask, and I got to know where to go find the facts. And you can find that through lenders. And if anyone has any problem, like, so the last thing that we do is they say, hey, no, man, they've got it in a checking account. Or, hey, mother-in-law or mom is actually going to be providing that gap if it's needed. Great. Hey, listen, man, I've got the offer over here. I've got the post occupancy over here. Last thing I need from you, lender, is I need proof of those funds. So you can cross out the last 4 of that account. But whatever account or whatever place this money's coming from, I need you to email or fax that to me so you can validate that whatever account this is coming from, I got to see it. I don't need you telling it to me. I need to see it. Cross the account number out. I need to see that you got $100,000 or whatever in that account so I can tell my buyers you're prepared. And if you start bullshitting me around that, look, man, I know what you're telling me. I know what you're telling me, right? And if they have the money, if mom has the money, no one has any problem showing that document to solidify how prepared you are to win the home you want to raise your family in. And if you do have a problem with it, man, I'm super curious, right? So, Dave, you were home last night with your wife. You were not killing people. Great, man. Like, oh, you've got a Ring doorbell. You walked through the front door at 6:30 last night. You've probably got no problem with me looking at your Ring doorbell and speaking to your wife, correct? And then you start giving me, you start throwing me shade. Man, I'm super curious if you were home, right? Right. Same thing, man. It's asking the right questions and then making sure that you've got documentation to support what they're saying so you can represent your client and showing that you're prepared, right?
So what I've learned here today so far is that if you're a killer, get rid of your Ring doorbell.
Yeah. Or have someone that looks just like you walking home at that same time.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So guys, you guys obviously are freaking experts at this real estate business, representing your buyers and your sellers, right? But I got to talk to you about brand because you're the Mile High Property Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you guys started separately and you started at other brokerages together. It's like your father and my father, they're fathers. Anyway, just a joke. Anyway, so the question is, you got started and you started this brand, and you mentioned earlier about your YouTube channel, etc. And I got a couple of questions about that, but I want you to talk to me about the process. You went from being real estate agents to being YouTube experts and gurus and making a fortune that way.
Man,
there isn't, man. Like, we're still super involved in the deals. We still do all the $1 million plus clients. Like, we're still practitioners, man. Like, and it's super hard to lead other agents that are within our network if you're not on the battlefield leading from the front, man. Like, the practitioner thing has to be very contextual, not theoretical, right? And if you're out of it, at some point the clock's ticking and you are going to be theoretical at some point as far as like having your finger on the pulse of the market and what people are going through. But we've always been documenting what we've been doing, man. So when we were doing, Facebook and Instagram, it was Facebook Lives once a week, talking about every week what we were doing, what's working, what's not working, what are we overcoming, what are our clients doing, how are we handling it, how are we mitigating it. We've always been doing that. We just decided to approach this YouTube framework at another level, but it's time blocking and making sure you've got time to go batch videos, right? It's having good cameras, having a good product, like it's being consistent. All of these things that you want to show as a realtor with your clients, you've got to show when you build your brand. If you're not consistent, people are going to be wondering if you're consistent when you're helping them, if you're going to answer your phone, if you're going to be consistently helpful. Are you super helpful in the beginning of the deal, but then you fall off after inspection or whatever it may be? So if you're building a YouTube channel, you've got to have consistency to just be on the top of that Richter scale for YouTube to throw you in front of people. And if you're not consistent, they're not going to put you in front of people because you don't keep people on YouTube. So you have to be consistent there. You've got to have great topics to talk about. You've got to understand what you're talking about when you're on camera. And you've got to reply to people that comment, that message. You got to reply to those emails. Like, it's no different than that basic level with Facebook. Again, man, like, let's go back to the military stuff. High speed is being brilliant at the basics. We've got more basics involved now, but there's no difference, man. It's like you just got to be proficient at everything that you're doing. Period.
Well, and then as far as the importance of, why the personal brand, why the branding, like that's something that him and I got right out of the gate. And way too many people, man, they think that their brokerage is what's going to make them successful. The amount of like headspace that people put into, do I want Liv Sotheby's? Do I want EXP? Do I want Cal Williams? What's going to be best for my brand? the consumer doesn't give a shit. Even on high-end, super high-end luxury properties, they don't give a shit, man.
And by the way, let me just cut them off. Anybody that's at some luxury brokerage, whatever, I will come talk to me in Denver and I'll show you how many million plus buyers we have, how many 2 million plus buyers and sellers that we have.
Well, they don't care.
Don't come at me with your bullshit, right? Like if you're in your 60s and you've built something at Sotheby's and that's your network, that's awesome. And hey, that works for you and I won't argue that. Anyone else, man, that hasn't been in the game for 25 years, that hasn't built that old school model of being in magazines and being a part of the country club. Mm-hmm. Hey man, that's no longer there. Sellers want us to be able to resource and put their home in front of everybody. More importantly, when they know we have 85 pre-approved buyers at one time and 16 of them are looking for the same type of house that you have, maybe I can just sell your home to one of our clients. We can save you some money. They love that we're that resource, right? And then when we're helping buyers, they love how many deals we win, man. They understand the reputation there, right? It's not an EXP thing. EXP thing is fucking baller because you can build your network and you can have an extraordinary influence. And when I'm 55 years old, I'm not going to be pushing houses, right? Mm-hmm. Like I've got my revenue built, I've got my network built, and I'm doing that, correct? Mm-hmm. So EXP's got an amazing model, but the people you're around and who you're choosing to be come first, period.
Well, and the reason that we chose video as far as, how we wanted to build our brand is because, again, man, people want to know. I want people to hear us articulate. I want people to be able to, man, look at our body language, hear us articulate, learn to know, like, and trust us. And, because I know we're not your conventional realtors, I know we're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but man, we're a lot of people's cup of tea. So when we get on camera and we're ourselves, dude, people, they connect with us, they vibe with us. We'll get people that reach out to us and they're like, hey, we love that you guys are aggressive. We can tell you're going to get the job done. We need somebody who is going to go to bat for us and get us this home in this crazy market. So our personality traits are what bring us a lot of business. Without video, we wouldn't have that.
Let's talk about that real quick before you move on, Dave. Everyone's trying to figure out like what their ideal client is, right? Like when Eli says, we're not everyone's cup of tea. They're like, oh yeah, you're right. You guys are like looking for like tattooed guys buying homes. No, man. Mm-mm. And when people ask you to figure out who your ideal client is, and a realtor tells me my ideal client is a married couple on their second home, shut the fuck up. You can't figure that out. What you need to do is put yourself on platforms, be well-spoken, be consistent,
be you,
be professional, know what you're talking about, and put it everywhere. And you allow your market to pick you. You would be surprised how many little old ladies pick us, dude. You'd be surprised how many quiet, soft-spoken, mute tech guys that sit behind computers all day buy $2 million homes from us. And if you would have told me, hey, Will, there's 1,000 people outside, you go pick the 10 or 20 that are going to buy from you. Dude, I could never pick. And that's based off of all the clients we have. They are so diverse. So our ideal client has character traits in common, not a physical trait in common, not a this is my third home in common, not a we have kids and we're raising a family in our second home in common. None of that. It's you guys are transparent, you guys are honest, you're consistent, you're hardworking. Our audience values core values, not whether you're tattooed or not, right? And people have it backwards. They're trying to look at who their ideal client is or identify that, realizing, no, dude, you're branding yourself, you're marketing yourself. That means you put yourself out there, you start seeing what the entire audience has to say about you, and then you go from there. Yep. But there is no married couple on their second home, and that's who you like dial in on. Like it's ass backwards, man. It's ass backwards.
Yep.
Especially when there's video.
This guy, Carl Pease, these guys are so engaging. I'm ready to come out of retirement. Carl I've known for many, many years.
Retirement? That sounds like a casket. How does it like?
Come on, Carl, let's get it, buddy.
Carl, get your ass out of that casket.
Let's go, man.
Carl and I know each other a long time. He's one of my biggest fans, and I love Carl. And so I just wanted to do a shout out for him because he's always on making great comments and stuff. So anyway, guys, okay. So you've built a brand. You've built a YouTube channel, which is you made $2 million in GCI on that last year. How did that freaking happen? $2 million out of a YouTube channel?
It was $2 million plus.
I made a mistake. Sorry. So how did that happen? What was
easy?
Is it just your content?
Look, man, it's focusing on the work. We didn't have a goal to hit 2 million. We didn't have a goal to hit 200 homes. We had a goal of.
I love what you just said. Focus on the work, the action.
Yeah, man. Like, have you ever shot a rifle?
Yes.
You're not focused on the target. You're focused on the front sight tip, or you're focused on the crosshairs in a scope, right? Your sight alignment, sight picture has to be appropriate. And when you acquire a target, you then focus on the front sight tip of that rifle. If you've got the target in focus, right? The target's in front of me, right? Here's the target. Here's the front sight tip. If I'm focused on the target, not my front sight tip, I'm off. Okay. Once I acquire the target, I've got to put that front sight tip in front of me, right? Side alignment, sight picture.
Right.
But I'm focused on the tip, man. The front sight tip, that's the work. So when him and I were focused, it was, here's the type of cameras we're using. Here's the type of content we're speaking to. Here's how often we're going to be online every single week. When someone calls, text messages, or emails, here's how we're handling phase 1. Here's how we're handling phase 2. Here's how we're handling phase 3. Let the dominoes fall where they may. Make sense?
And then,
100%, man.
And then how we came to that decision, man. So here's kind of the quick chain of events, how that broke down. We were previously at Berkshire Hathaway. We had built a successful team over there. Number 1 team at our brokerage, 0.5% in all of Berkshire Hathaway nationwide. We had built that team
worldwide.
from
fucking nation.
Worldwide. That's right. From, and we had agents, man, who are coming on who were doing 0 deals, and they were building their personal brand. We didn't have any leads. We built them all crushing from their sphere and referral. And him and I were doing Facebook Lives. We were doing a lot of video, but man, we had a healthy enough respect for YouTube that it just wasn't the time yet. Now, all these things happened kind of simultaneously. We had decided to dissolve our team. We had our award ceremony. We won our top 5.5% in the world. We dissolved our team because we knew the personal brand was on Will and Eli, not our team. So we dissolved the team, rebranded ourselves, wanted to run and gun. Then COVID started popping off, man. This was like March, April 2020. Him and I had a podcast already. And what we had decided to do, man, we were like, hey, we're at a point to where people are getting, this was right around the Tiger King era of COVID, if you guys remember when that was. We're like, okay, man, people are at home. These lockdowns are real. People are getting remote working approved. People are also getting kind of annoyed at their state on all sides of the spectrum. People are just getting annoyed and they're kind of getting cabin fever and they want to move. Hey, what if we took the content that we're doing and started talking about what it's like living in Colorado, what the cost of living is here, doing neighborhood tours?
It was getting to consumer, man. It was like, hey, everything's remote now. People can't just come in face to face. People can't just go anywhere. How do we get direct to consumer while this is going on? And we made the pivot
early on, man. We saw the little signs of it,
but it was consumer based.
Pivot.
It should always be about your consumer, right? Like if you're the realtor that's out there and the one thing you post is your closing photo so you can show how busy you are, you're wrong, man. You're missing it. It's creating valuable topics create content that speak valuable shit to sellers and buyers. And if it's not that, then you're making it about you. And if you're making it about you, no one cares. Like none of us are that big of a deal.
So what you're saying is there was posts on Instagram that said, I'm so lucky to have these great buyers we just closed on their new home. Or I'm so blessed that I had these buyers.
Right?
Or look at my new listing. Won't last. Come see me this week. Are you agreeing with me that that's all bullshit?
Look, man, it's bullshit, but I don't mind you wanting to look busy, but you got to create value. So let's use the open house. Let's use your listing. You want to show that you're busy and that you have a listing, right? So, hey guys, happy Friday. We've got a new listing that's coming up here on 123, Boulevard. Hey, listen, while we were prepping this home, we had a couple questions that we got from the sellers in regards to what they should be looking for from a buyer. And matter of fact, not just this listing, but a couple of our listings are starting to have the same questions. And those questions were A, B, and C. How we handle those questions were by answering them by A, B, and C. So, hey, listen, guys, whether you're working with us or with someone else, if you're a buyer out there right now, it's not just highest price. This is what sellers are really concerned with. And hey, listen, if you're not a buyer, you're a seller that's out there, whether you're working with us or with someone else, these are some things that you should be considering prior to selling. And like, hey guys, of course, just as much as we love making these videos, we would love for you guys to be doing your business with us. If we can earn that from you, that would be great. However, enjoy your weekend. Think about these things. If you're a buyer, think about these 3 things. If you're a seller, have a great weekend. That's the fucking video, dude. It's like, it's valuable, but I'm showing you that I'm at a listing. I'm not walking you through, showing you closets and kitchens like Minecraft. No one cares, and no one from your social media is buying that home, but they are buying you. The likelihood of someone on your Facebook buying your listing, 0. The likelihood of people on your Facebook absorbing valuable content, going, man, that was well said. That was well thought. That guy knows his shit. I should send him a message. Dude, it's real. And like, that's how we hit 0.5% at Berkshire, because we didn't have a YouTube channel back then. It was teaching our agents how to do that and get out into their communities. That created tons of traction. So it's okay if you want to show that you're busy, but it's not your closing photo. And it's not, look at my listing. It's, hey guys, happy Wednesday. I'm out at an inspection right now. We just finalized, we just got done with clients, and hey, listen, it went great, but we had a couple obstacles. The sewer had this that was wrong with it. And now on the surface, that sounds like it could be super serious, but really it's not. Here's how they're going to mitigate it. So, hey, listen, if you're a buyer right now and something sounds scary, or if you're a soon-to-be buyer right now and something like that seems scary, there are ways to mitigate this. And hey, guys, if you're a seller, yes, it's okay to fix something for a buyer, because if they're offering you great money for your home, don't forget that that's a lot of value for you. And if you're spending $600 to fix this, you should be happy to do that, right? But listen, happy Wednesday. If there's something I can do for you, I would love to. You picking up what I'm putting down? Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, this is all shit we do every day. You're just deciding not to put it on camera.
Well, and here's what I like about that too, is he's advising out of the gate. We're not waiting till we're in a deal to advise somebody. He just advised clients.
You sure did.
Clients right there. And here's something I'm a firm believer on, man. People want to be led. People are not going to their doctor because their knee hurts and then arguing with their doctor about what treatment they're going to do. People are going to an attorney because they're in trouble and then telling their attorney when to object. They're trusting those people because those people generally take advisory positions. And I think real estate agents, for a variety of reasons, they're too scared to take that advisory position. And and then your client ends up advising you.
Except for sale by owners, right? Like, that's the guy telling his doctor what to do. It doesn't go very well.
Yeah.
Right. Well, guys, this has been like, we can keep going, but time is up. I forgot something in the very beginning, and I asked this of everybody when we start the broadcast. It's called Real Estate Talk TGIF, and I forgot to ask you the main question that I ask everybody. What does TGIF stand for?
Oh man. Ooh.
Thank God it's Friday,
right?
Close.
What is it?
Thank God it's finale. I mean, come on, man. It's right here. You guys are smart. What the hell? Anyway,
it's Friday, dude. Don't take that from me. I'm trying to get get half drunk. I'm 37, so I don't get drunk very well anymore.
Guys,
is like a little bit of soda with my son, and we're shooting Nerf guns across the house Friday nights.
So this has been such a great broadcast. I'm so happy I got you guys on. I'm going to look forward to having you guys on again.
Definitely.
In a short while. I've got your contact information on here. Are these the best ways to reach you guys?
Instagram, man. Instagram's great. Yeah, we're both super active on there. Will's IG famous, so that's definitely the best place to look us up.
Yeah.
So your YouTube channel, how do they find that? Is that livingindenvercolorado.com?
Yeah, no. YouTube, you don't have to put in a .com. You just go to you just go to YouTube and type in Living in Denver. We've been on the Drew Barrymore show. We've been on CBS. We've had a lot of fun with that, man. So like, you type in Living in Denver, shouldn't be much else that pops up.
And you type in Denver anything, we're probably popping up.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, guys. So I got two things left really quickly. And the most important question for me, honestly, is not TGIF. That's a fun one. Here's the most important question. How can I help you guys grow your business?
Man, this right here, dude, we've got a super powerful message that we like it out there. We're extremely passionate about talking to other agents and just sharing what worked for us, because again, we make fun of agents and we talk shit, and hey, they're posting their closing photos. Half the reason is they don't know what else to post, man. The real estate training out there is a lot of smoke and mirrors. A lot of it is vanilla. A lot of it is generic. A lot of it is not from real practitioners. So you putting us on your platform, man, that's
cool. And like, it probably helps everyone else out. Like, I think there are a lot of realtors out there, man, that are driven, that are excited, that have the work ethic. They just don't have the direction on really how to approach it, right? And like, that's really who we're looking for, man. If someone needs a babysitter or a kick in the ass, I'm not your guy. As much as like I can be that guy for you, I don't want to be that guy, man. I want to be that guy that can give you some direction, and you can improvise, adapt, and overcome, and make the proper pivots, from the advice that you get, and just move forward, man. And the more people we have around us that we can influence, the better, man. So anyone that comes from this, that's interested, that can throw a phone call, a text message to that number that's on the screen, or to our Instagrams, we're happy to help. We're happy to, shit, man. Only thing more fun than stuff like this is helping people actually build their business, right? So if what we're talking about on this podcast is for people out there. We would love to hear from you to see how we can't help you grow your business.
And you guys do a an event. I don't know how often you do. It's called Content and Cocktails.
Once a month.
We do that once a month. And do you actually do speaking at it, or is it just a networking event?
No networking, man. Yeah. Yeah. He'll talk.
Have you figured us out yet? Like, man, if we're not advising and teaching something and giving something of value, like I have zero desire to go bullshit with people, man. We got a lot of business going on. We got a lot of growth going on. I got kiddos I love to hang out with, man. Like,
great.
I got no problem, like Content and Cocktails, just to give you that. Like, it's usually 2 hours of teaching and instructing and showing you what we do. And then it's 2 hours of the happy hour and having drinks and hanging out and having fun. And typically that's just everyone coming up and asking questions and things like that. Of course, it's networking to bring people into our network and to work with them. But before we would ever ask someone to be a part of us, we like giving something of value that shows like, hey, guys, here's what we do. Here's what we've accomplished. Here's how we've done it. If that's for you, come holler at us during the happy hour. And if it's not for you, that I never knew you were here, have a great day, man. I'm not cold calling you.
Awesome. Great. I love that idea. I actually want to attend one of those.
Yeah.
So I know you're not a quick drive, but I'm going to plan that.
Where are you at?
I'm in New Jersey, man.
Oh yeah. That's not a quick drive at all.
Dude, I was out there a couple years ago, right?
It's not a quick flight.
No, it's not. But I love Denver. So I've been there a few times. Anyway, so I'm going to come out. I'm going to come annoy you guys, and we'll have some fun. So lastly, guys, I know you found out about the show. I actually had a friend of mine reach out to me beginning of this week and said, you got to reach out to these guys, Eli Schmidt and Will Grimes. I said, I already did. They're on the broadcast this week. And I said, that's great, right? So I've had people who do reach out to me and ask me to have other people on. But I know the other reason you came on is because I know you guys know you get a hat when
That's right, man.
Come on this, right?
That's right.
So we got hats coming out to you guys really soon. Make sure you get me those addresses. We're going to go off in a second. Please stay on just for a minute as we finish up. Everybody, I want to thank everybody for watching this, whether you watched it live or you'll watch it later. If you don't watch this thing 3 times, you're out of your mind. Guys, love you. We'll be right back. I'm just going to go off real quick. Stay on, please. And we're going to go coming right back. See you later.